Today we are making low carb, low sugar, delicious pumpkin cheesecake. I'm making mine for Thanksgiving, but cheesecake is one of those low carb desserts that's good year round. I'm Dorothy, by the way, and I do cooking tutorials for low carb and keto lifestyles. Subscribe below and you'll have access to all kinds of great comfort foods that are low carb. So follow me to the kitchen and let's make that cheesecake. Starting with the shopping list. The crust, you'll need nuts. I used hazelnuts. You can use pecans or walnuts. Butter, ginger, and some people use a little bit of Swerve brown sugar substitute in their crust. You don't have to. For the filling, you'll need a can of pumpkin, pure pumpkin, 3 blocks of cream cheese, which equals 24 ounces, some heavy whipping cream, and your choice of sugar substitute. Monkfruit is a great one, or any blend like Swerve or Truvia. Then you'll need your spices, and we are going to be using a little bit of salt. The spices would be cinnamon, nutmeg, and ginger, or a substitute of pumpkin pie spice. You'll need some vanilla and optional bourbon. As far as equipment goes, there are a few things that will make your life a lot easier. For the crust, you'll really need a food processor to grind up the nuts, otherwise you'll be chopping forever. You'll need a stand mixer for the filling with a paddle attachment to get everything nice and smooth. And then this is called a Springform pan. It has an attachment that comes off so that you can just pull the cheesecake right out without wrecking it. Then you'll need a few things to measure in. A bowl, something for liquid measure, dry measuring cups, measuring spoons, and probably a couple of spoons or spatulas, and don't forget your hands. Okay, let's get cooking. Add the 2 cups of nuts to the food processor. And the only real trick with the food processor is to pulse it instead of just turn it on full speed all the time. Pulsing it like this instead of letting it go continuously lets the nuts fall to the bottom and you get a more uniform size, which is kind of nice. I forgot to tell you to preheat the oven. So if you haven't done that, preheat the oven to 325 degrees Fahrenheit. Pour your nuts into a bowl, melt your butter in the microwave a little bit, and pour your butter in and mix it up. Note that I left a little bit of butter over on the side there. I'll show you what we're going to do with that in a few minutes. But now mix your butter and your nuts together and it should look like sand. It'll be a coarse sand if you ground your nuts coarsely, and a fine sand if you ground them finely, of course. I like mine fairly coarse. Okay, back to that little cube of butter we set aside. I use it to grease the bottom of the Springform pan. You don't have to use butter. You can use parchment paper on the bottom, or you can use one of the oil sprays if that's your preference. Okay, set the greased pan aside and let's get back to finishing the crust. I'm adding a teaspoon of ginger, and then I'm also going to add a teaspoon of brown sugar Swerve, which is a sugar substitute. It's totally up to you. You can use 2 teaspoons of Swerve if you like a sweeter crust. You can use regular sugar if you're not on a diet, and you can go with no sugar if that's your preference. Okay, we'll mix it all together, combining all the ingredients, and then come your hands. Use your hands to really get everything mixed thoroughly, and then take a little clump of it. If it sticks together like this, you're good to go, and you'll know that it will stick together in the bottom of the pan as a crust also. Pour it into the bottom of the greased pan now and just distribute it along the bottom and try to get it about 1 inch up the sides also. You want to press down really firmly. I just use my knuckles. Some people will use a glass. And this is what it looks like. And now into the oven. While that's cooking, we're going to do a step that is not really necessary, but some swear that it makes it better, so I thought I'd try. Mix up the can of pumpkin and the vanilla and bourbon and half of the sugar, and then just simmer it over the stove while the crust is baking for about 10 minutes. The idea is that simmering the pumpkin for a bit takes the liquid out and intensifies the pumpkin. I'm not sure if this is necessary. Let me know in the comments what you think. All right, let's put together the filling. Pumpkin goes in first, whether from the stove or just the can. Some sugar, 1 cup altogether, a cup of heavy whipping cream, and bourbon and vanilla. Okay, let's mix that up first, and then we will add the cream cheese. As with the stand mixer and the nuts, start slow and then work up to speed. Okay, add the cream cheese a little bit at a time, and it's easier that way. Turn on the mixer and, oops, see what I mean? You can go slow and clean, or you can opt for fast and messy, whatever is your choice. Okay, you should have something that looks like this, really creamy and silky. Add the 3 eggs, and then you can either stir those in or put them back in the mixer and mix them up a bit. They just need to be blended. And just pour all of this creamy, silky, pumpkin-y goodness into your pan on top of the crust. Smooth it out a little bit, and you're almost ready for the oven. One more step. Okay, last step, but very important one. Pour some boiling water into a large pan and put it on the bottom rack of your oven. The cheesecake is going to go on the rack above this, and this is a lot easier than the old water baths. Now, bake at 325 for about an hour and a half. Check it every so often. It should be set at the end, but a little jiggly in the center. After it's cool, wrap it in aluminum foil and chill it in the refrigerator for about 4 hours or more. Time to unveil. I'm going to release the Springform pan, pull it up, slice it, and here's what we've got. No one at your table is going to know this is low carb and sugar-free. And there you go. Subscribe below for some more cooking tutorials on low carb lifestyles and low carb living. And happy Thanksgiving.